I think I'll share also a bit of like my story
Yeah.
for those who are listening as well. And if there's anything you want to stop me on, you can. But like in essence, similar to you, I think my dad stopped being as present when I was 8 as well.
Oh, okay.
So kind of similar, but mine is also very different. I have three brothers, so I'm not only child. And obviously I'm conscious of them as I speak as well. And it was kind of a thing where so my brothers went back to Nigeria. No, not back to, like
Oh
they just got
wow.
sent to Nigeria.
Oh wow.
They weren't bad behaved. They were cool guys. They were
Your
just
just mom just needed.
no, I think my dad and mom wanted them to just know their culture.
Oh, okay,
Like,
nice.
oh, I'm Igbo. I feel like Igbo men are very much like you must know your
Yes,
culture.
yes, yeah.
So he wanted them to go back for that purpose, and he went back with them.
Oh
But
wow.
as a young girl, I knew my brothers were going back, and I knew that my dad was gonna go, but I thought my dad was gonna come back. So when my dad
Oh.
went and didn't come back, and then also sort of hearing the conversations with my mum and dad and how tense they were, how maybe hearing their fights and overhearing their conversations, I had an understanding that, oh no, he's not, I don't think he's coming back, type
Oh
of thing.
wow.
Not that it was his intent not to come back. And I think this is the sticky thing of it all, because I think as I've matured in sharing my experiences, I have to remind myself that I am still biased. And I feel like that's something that's hard to hear, considering the fact that the wound is so big.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like there's my experience, there's my brother's experience, there's my mom's
There's your
experience,
dad's
there's my dad's
experience, and then there's
experience.
God's
Do you
view
know what I mean? Of
of
seeing it
of
all.
everything.
And especially now being married, you deep that like there's no one side.
Yeah.
Like in marriage, even when you go through, even when you have a disagreement, there's always something that someone else can apologize for. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying this is not to justify or not justify anything. It's just to add context as I'm speaking. So yeah, so my dad went to Nigeria with my brothers, and I don't know what the arrangement that my mom and dad had. And honestly, I think where it got to was probably just a reflection of where they were in their marriage, in how they
Right.
communicated and stuff like that. Um, it meant that like I didn't see my dad for the rest of my growing up. So for me, my memories after 8 kind of fade. I went to Nigeria to see him one time, but I was too young to remember. And he may have come one time and I saw him on the bus, but
Oh
I
wow.
I just ran away because I haven't seen you in years, and I'm also scared of you
Oh
because
wow.
like my mum and dad didn't have the best relationship. And so I don't have a good view of him. One, because I'm seeing it from my experiences with him, but also from my mum's lens and how he is as a husband to my mum. Also affected how I saw him as a father. When now that just like you said, like how your memory kind of shuts down to protect yourselves, I think as well, my memory lit up again, and I guess I'm spoiling the story, after me and my dad reconciled. It kind of
Mm,
lit up. Oh no, I remember when my dad bought me chicken and chips. Oh, I remember
yeah.
when, you know what I mean, things like that. But for a long time,
That's the beauty of forgiveness,
you know what I
right?
mean? And for a long time I had a hatred for my dad.
Mm.
I definitely hated him. I hated that he wasn't present, he wasn't around. I hated the way he treated my mum. I wasn't in their relationship to know the ins and outs, but from what I saw, I
You
didn't
didn't
like
like
it. You
it,
know, I was young and
yeah.
I didn't like it. Um, I didn't like how my mum would feel,
Hmm.
and how she would look after conversations and things such as that. So for me, I had just a dislike for him for a long time. And that went throughout life. Just like you said, he basically missed milestones. And when I think about it, like there's a lot of people who their fathers just go back home. They just go back home and set up shop there, and that's just their to our parents, it's normal. Like
Yeah, which is insane, by the
which is
way. That's my
insane.
opinion
I
about
think it's
that.
insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, the dads go back, they set up shop, and some people have a relationship with their dad where they see him once a year. He comes back maybe
Yeah.
for Christmas. But to me, he's still missing major
A
milestones in your
lot
life.
on a daily
Yeah,
basis.
and that's something that I really hated him for. Obviously my two brothers were gone as well, so I was like the oldest in the household. Also being
Right.
the only girl meant that like I assumed a lot of responsibility and position, and I had
Mm.
to mature quickly as well, because it
Yeah.
was my brothers were in Nigeria. I have a younger brother, so my mom would go to work and it would just be us at home.
Have to look
I would
after
cook,
him.
I would clean, I would discipline, like all that sort of stuff. So it did make me grow quite quickly. And just like kind of what you say, that there's this like, I don't know, I think if you know women who didn't grow up with a father, there's this kind of like um maturity that we
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That I think
For the
it's
most part of
for
it.
the most part, or that we think we have. There's a sense of like adultification. Is that the word? Adultification?
I don't think that's a word, but
Oh,
I
is it?
think
They made it up.
I don't know if it's a word. I've never heard of it.
TikTok. They
Oh,
made
okay.
it
I'm
up.
not on there as much, but I can understand what the
Yeah,
word
it's like
means.
they turn you into an adult before your time,
Oh, okay.
basically. Like, I don't know about you, but when I was younger, like I have myself and like lots of first daughters, we were called mummy. We were called mum.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people like coming to terms with that and
Yeah.
like speaking about more online
Yeah.
about, you know, you can know when someone is a first
Yeah,
daughter.
yeah.
I can agree with elements of it, but
Yeah.
because I'm an only child,
yeah.
there's certain
It's a
things,
bit harder, yeah.
there's certain things I don't like, I didn't
Resonate.
experience basically,
Yeah.
but yeah.
But yeah, I was called mama for a long
That's
time.
insane.
Yeah, and it's a term of endearment at the end of the day, but the ramifications at times is you really think that you're a woman. You're a woman before your
But yeah,
time.
because you're so young hearing
Yeah.
that you like that, but it's not what it
It's not,
what it
you
means.
know,
It
what it
shouldn't be
means.
that.
It shouldn't. So yeah, so when there was a time where, so obviously when they go through divorce, you go through court. We had a lot of court stuff, and I had like a situation with my dad. Like he had kind of just popped up when I was 17. So let's say I haven't seen him properly since I was 8. I might have had the one odd I went to Nigeria, but I don't remember. So I don't have memories of him and don't have fond memories. And I refuse to speak to him on the phone and things like that.
Wow.
Like if like there'll be a day my mom was crying because of him, I'll pick up the phone and I'll just, you know, I'll give it to him type of thing.
Wow.
Like that was the type of thing I had for him. And as an African parent, his response was always like, wow, okay, you'll see type of thing. Like
Well, because of the distance, you're like, you're just all chat. Like, you're not going to actually do anything.
Bro, at the end of the day, I was scared of my dad. I think everyone's scared of their dad. Like, my memories of him was like this, and he has these 2 tattoos and stuff like that. But yeah, so he popped up one time when I was 17. So bear in mind, I've lived my life. I'm living my life without him, you know what I mean? I saw him on the bus one time and I ran away because I think the other side of things is, and I think a lot of people who either you have a single parent, like may understand this, like sometimes because of their pain, because of our mother's pain, they might often, you know, share how they feel about your father, which taints your opinion of them. Though it's probably true, like the things that they're saying, it kind of taints your view of them. So yeah, that tainted for a long time. So when he popped up when I was 17, it was just kind of like, oh, knock on the door. And yeah, we don't answer the door. You know them ones, you don't answer the door when you're younger stuff. And yeah, we opened the door and he was there. And that was a shock. It caused a lot of issues, a lot of legal issues as well, which was quite traumatic. But it eventually started and ended like legally my parents' marriage. So yeah, so I went through my life without him. Basically, I've definitely come to a point where you know, I'm independent. I don't need him. I always say though, my saving grace is my brothers.
Okay.
So when my 2 older brothers eventually came back, when they were starting uni, yeah, I had father figures. Like, you know, I now I have them, and my brothers. I have great brothers. Like they've always complimented me, spoke into me, encouraged me, protected me. So that definitely helped me not go crazy, even though I still went crazy. Like I had the always talking to a guy, being promiscuous, things such as that. But having them there was really like a saving grace. But I went to uni and I gave my life to Christ when I was 15. So I've come to Christ and stuff like that. Eventually I'll go to uni and you know, you think you're all good. Like you think you've got the gospel, you know the Lord, you're on fire. And I think sometimes when we come to Christ that we forget that, like, yes, we've come to Christ to save other people, but firstly, we've been saved and we are being saved. You know what I mean? And he wants to actually sanctify us as much as he wants to use us to sanctify others.
Yeah.
So when I went to uni, I started to like sit down with the hatred that I had for my dad. I don't know how I got there. Obviously, I think the Holy Spirit just led me to sit down and really think about it. And think about the fact that like because in uni I was involved in a lot of Christian societies. Like I would mentor and things such as that. But it's like you're doing all this stuff, but like, have you really sat down with yourself and thought about, what have I submitted my issues to the Lord? So I basically did that. I just sat with God, and I know you said like you screamed and you thought like, God, why? But I kind of had that as well. I didn't scream, but it's like uncontrollably crying.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's so interesting how your pain manifests physically.
Yeah, it does.
You know what I mean? But yeah, so I was just crying, and just realizing that, like, I've always said, there was something I would always say, even when I was Christian, I would say, like, if my dad died, I wouldn't cry. Like, that's cool, you know what I mean? And I think I sat with that statement. It's like, you're Christian, like, what are you saying? And for a second, I decided to take myself out of like my own pain and just consider the wider picture. Consider, you know, because for a long time, my dad had been trying to reach out to me actually through emails. And I would, back then, like, I mean, how else? He would send me emails.
Well, he didn't have your number?
I didn't have a phone for a long time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he would send me emails. He would, there was one time he wrote a letter, something like that. So I would air him, you know what I mean? But the thing is that in his letters, it wasn't like, oh, you know, my daughter. It was like, you don't know what you're doing and the mistake that you're making.
Written.
Like, you don't know that you're being bewitched, you know, stuff like that. Like, not able to take accountability, basically.
Yes.
So I was like, I'm not answering this. What are you talking about? So, and I think, also I wanted to like protect my mum and stuff. But long story short, I sat in my uni room, cried. And I think, honestly, in that moment, God gave me the strength that I did not have, and I didn't know where I was ever going to find it, to reach out to my dad, basically.
Wow. And that's a lot, by the way.
Yeah.
Doing that.
I never thought I'd ever do that.
Yeah. Like, when you have been hurt by someone for such a long period of time, it's actually only God, honestly, that can move you to basically reach out. It's 100%. Almost like you're waving a white flag of surrender, of like the bridge or the gap that's there between us. I'm like ready to.
No, honestly, and you know, like, you kind of get attached to your pain.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
You personalize it, so it's my anxiety. It's, you know, it's my like, you know, like I don't know. It's my pain, anyways. Yeah,
and you don't want to. No, you don't want to lose it, but deep down, I guess everyone wants to be free of it. But there's something.
It forms your identity.
Yeah, and I think there's something a bit. I don't know if the word's like addictive, but there's a feeling that comes from having a story, having a thing. I don't know if like you've seen this thing going around, like, where people, they almost want to be able to testify that they've gone through the fire, because it shows that they've really done something. So like some people want to have the testimony of like, I was on the road and I did this.
But there's no small or big testimony.
Exactly. But oftentimes it's like, because the big testimony feels more impactful, it seems more impactful, it seems more heavy. You know, people almost want to have this story like, I've gone through the mud. There's even like rich kids who go and like they
want to feel like they want to feel about that life.
Yeah, like that they've had something about them. And it's even like the whole even like culture, like people who don't really have much of a culture, they want to identify with people who do. Yeah. Because they just want something about them, which is interesting. So yeah, like being able to say like in that room that I'm about to let go of this was really weird. I didn't know how it was going to go, because my dad's also, you know, a typical Nigerian hard-headed man.
Right.
But yeah, so eventually we went out to Nando's. I initiated the link up, and it was weird. But sitting with him, I just remembered how funny he was.
Do you look like your dad?
Yeah, I do. Okay. I do. But I also do look like my mum, but I've got my dad's complexion. I realized how funny he was. My dad was always funny growing up. So even when we sat down, he was just like, he just said something silly like, well, how's life? You know, something like that. Like, he's just one of those people. And then I saw how old he had gotten.
Right.
White hair. And, you know, the man that I knew was young, and he had muscles, and he had this dark hair. but now I'm seeing a man who's, he's aged.
Yeah.
And I'm like, raw, like
you've also missed out.
Yeah.
On his life.
And
yeah.
I had pity for him because I thought, like, imagine having children and not seeing them.
Yeah.
Not to say that it wasn't his fault, because someone could be hearing this saying, yeah, but that was his fault. Yeah. It was his fault.
But as a Christian, we're called to like have that compassion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that grace. Yeah, where you like you know what the right thing is to do, right? And it's hard because society and the world tells your flesh literally wants to like make them pay for it. But you realize that it's not just impacting them, but it's impacting you
yourself
as well. Yeah.
Honestly, like that's I think what I try and preach more, and that's probably like what I would like to, when we get to the end this sort of message on. But yeah, so I sat down with him and like I just realized he's aged so much. He had so much anger.
Wow.
Yeah, so much anger, so much pain that I aired him for so many years.
Wow.
He was angry with me. I was thinking, I've come because what you did was wrong. But he was like, no, you shouldn't have done this, shouldn't have done that. And I'm sitting down and I'm realizing that, like, I remember I asked him, like, how you were as a father, how was your dad like that? And he said, like, as you see me now, my dad was exactly like that. And I realized, like,
he's replicating. Yeah.
What model did you have to follow? You thought what you were doing was normal. So what can I say? Like, what can I do to you? You know what I mean? I still addressed things that I felt, things like how he might have been as a husband, how he might have been as a father, and things such as that. And I just saw that he had a lot of pain and he had his side of the story. That's the main thing that I saw, because growing up in a single parent home, you only hear one side. Naturally, you only see one side. But then when you encounter the other person, though you might not even like their side of the story, they have a story to tell.
Yeah, but it's so sad that as children, you have to even be in that like situation now, like, which is not what your role as a child should be in the first place. You're not a mediator. You're not some form of counselor rather. But because of circumstances, you're found like
doing those things. 100%. Because growing up, that's what me and my brothers would do a lot. Like, oh, mum and dad's fighting. We'll take them up to their room, sit them down. No, guys. Da, 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 da. And I know a lot of people.
Like, what do you know?
What do I actually know? What do I actually know? But you know what's funny? It's like you end up knowing more than them.
Yes.
It's so weird. And I know some people listening are going through that probably right now. I don't know if people have had those things where, like, your mom comes to tell you, oh, your dad did this. And then you have to go and sort it out.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And we say all these things not to shame our parents, because again, their model may have not been the best. But we say these things just to point it out that this isn't necessarily, when I think about this, it's just like, this isn't how God has called it to be.
Yeah.
And because of, often the times our nature or not being submitted to him, this is how we make things be. Because I don't think my dad might say he was a Christian, but I don't know how much that influenced his life, you know what I mean? So that's something that I think about often as well. But yeah, on that day, I brought up something to him and he actually admitted it. Wherever it was, he admitted it. And I didn't think he ever would admit it. And he didn't necessarily say sorry, but he basically said sorry. And then I didn't necessarily say sorry. I just said to him, it's okay. My bad. You get it? Like, because he's kind of a bit of a joker. And yeah, that started the beginning of just seeing him a bit more. I might see him maybe like once a month. He will speak to me. He might send me money for something. He paid for my driving lessons. And I came to terms with the fact that he probably won't show up in my life the way that
you want him to.
There was a younger me that wanted a dad, but you've gotten older now, so it's like you've basically sorted everything else out. I didn't know what else he can do for me. But what he has done for me, I think he's just added a refreshing that I feel like I probably didn't have growing up. I don't know. I think growing up with one parent often makes the household quite tense. That's my experience anyway.
With siblings, I can imagine.
Yeah, like it's just there's something about like only having a dad or only having a mum, which feels quite imbalanced emotionally. Like, sometimes the mums can be maybe the ones that are a bit more emotional, and then maybe sometimes the dad might add a bit of logic or something like that. So when you have an issue, you might get both sides. But because it's like one parent, you know what I mean, and you're almost filling the shoes of the other parent, every decision, everything feels quite weighty. But then when my dad came in my life, not that he came back to my family home, just came back into my life, I might have a discussion with my mum. Then I'll talk about it with my dad, and he just says, well, just do what you can do, you know, we'll see how it goes. And I don't know, it was just quite refreshing for me, you know what I mean? So he's kind of helped with a balance, I guess, that I didn't have growing up. But yeah, that's the I didn't want us to jump into reconciling straight away, but I guess we're here. But that's the story of Balamori in essence, of my experience with my dad. And I think I am fortunate that I was able to reconcile. God gave me the grace to do it, and it's not to rush anyone in their journey, because again, it still took me a long time to get there. But yeah, like it was definitely something. It was definitely like a weight that came off my shoulders from reconciling, and just like you said, that's the power of forgiveness. And I think often people talk about like they don't want to reconcile because like he should come to me. I didn't do nothing, and you're right. You're not wrong.
But then you look at the cross, right?
Yeah.
We should have gone to God, but God came down as a man and took it on for us, and he's called us to, you know, carry our own cross
and to do
daily,
the same,
which is basically to live like
him. And I think that's what's helped me through that process. It's just deep in how much the sacrifice that Christ has gone through for me, and how much I've hurt him, how much, you know, what my sin did to him, you know what I mean, and the death he had to pay for my sin. Like, he just had to die. I just had to book a Nando's and go to.
What did you probably order?
I ordered a lot because he paid. I said, yeah, I'm eating this. The money that I haven't eaten for how long? No, I'm chopping this. You know what I mean? And I had a good meal, like,
very good.
You know what I mean? But you know, when I think about what Christ did for me and what I did to him, you know, it's like,
in the grand scheme of things, it's like,
you know what I mean?
I'm not trying to, you know, not validate people's pain, but in the grand scheme of things, it's like, I just have to let this go.
Let this go. And that's what I was gonna say, because it's like the validating part. I think one of my flaws is like when I've reached the conclusion, I often forget the journey, and so therefore I'm not always quick to empathize and validate, and then I have to take time and remember, oh wait, don't forget to do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, as we're saying this now, and as I'm saying this now, it's not to say that your feelings aren't real. I mean, I've said for a long time I had hatred. I didn't mind if he had passed away, do you know what I mean? And those feelings, I don't think God is asking us to throw it in the bin and go and reconcile. I think he wants to heal us and help us reconcile. I don't even think that the end goal or you reconciling will be the end of the journey, because we're going to move into a bit like how you mentioned before, how these things show up in our relationships and our friendships. Like, you could have reconciled, you could have gotten over it, but still there is still this effect.
It changes you.
Yeah.
Like, I will never be the same person I was before my parents separated. Like, that version of me is gone.
Yeah, it's
like
gone.
There's no bringing her back, in a sense. It definitely changes you, and I believe wholeheartedly that God wants us to invite him with our pain, our struggles. I think there's this idea, maybe because of human experience, where we think God doesn't want to deal with the mess. Like, we should like just sort it out ourselves. And it's when we've come to terms with it that we should then bring it to God, and he will then crown it as like suffering. But God wants to be with us, and he wants to hold our hand whilst we're going through. He wants, you know, that for us to have a shoulder we can lean on him and like actually like cry it out, or like, as it's very much okay not being okay at times, and being vulnerable is literally the word, being vulnerable with God, and like, that's fine. Like, you need that. You need that literally throughout. Yeah.
I think as I read more as well, like, and I'm studying my Bible, like, we see we have a high priest that sympathizes with us, right?
Yeah.
And like, I think of all words that the Bible chose to use in that passage. It could have been anything. It could, oh, we have a high priest who saves us. We have but it sympathized with our weaknesses, because we do have weaknesses. We do have pain.
And sympathy means that they've been
through it
with you. Because empathy is you understand, but you like obviously you haven't been through it with them. But sympathizing means that they have been through.
How amazing is that?
Jesus has been betrayed.
Crazy.
Jesus has
abandoned,
rejected by his own. Aren't you the carpenter's son? Like he's literally been through every form of human disagreement or human pain experience that one could go through. So we must invite God
into it. And it's not even to say that oh, you're going through something, but Christ has gone through it too, so pick it up. It's to say, he's gone through it, so come to him to comfort you and to help you through it. And